Excuse me? Oh, Mr. Short. Mr. Short, over here, please. And Mr. Gowdy, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. The Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, the Honourable Dr. Andrew Fiore. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Honour, the Honourable Judy Foote, Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland and Labrador, and His Honour Howard Foote. Please be seated. Honorable and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Peter Fitzgerald, Private Secretary to the Lieutenant Governor. I will be your Master of Ceremonies for today's ceremony. On behalf of their honors and the Premier, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this investiture ceremony to recognize the recipients of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador. The ceremony will commence with an address by Her Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Honor, the Honourable Judy M. Foote, Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland and Labrador, and Chancellor of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Good afternoon. We begin today's ceremony by respectfully acknowledging the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as the ancestral homelands of many diverse populations of Indigenous peoples who have contributed to 9,000 years of history, including the Beothuk on the island of Newfoundland. Today, this province is home to diverse populations of Indigenous and other people. We also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit. Everyone take a deep breath and realize where we are. What a splendid, splendid building. And if you feel like I do, you're in awe of our surroundings right now. Premier Furey, Order of Newfoundland and Labrador recipients, Chair of the Advisory Council for the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, ministers and members of the House of Assembly representing the districts of the recipients, and all distinguished guests. Welcome to the beautiful and historic Colonial building for the 15th investiture of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador. It is always an honor to recognize people of our province for their achievements and contributions to our province and to the country and to the world. I do so today not only as Lieutenant Governor, but as Chancellor of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador. The Order is our highest provincial honour, and it is a part of the official honour system of Canada. It was first approved by Her late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, in 2003, and the honour was first bestowed upon Newfoundlanders and Labradorians in 2004. Every year since, citizens of our province have been recognized for demonstrating excellence and achievement in any field of endeavour that benefits in an extraordinary manner Newfoundland and Labrador and its residents. The recipients of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador this year meet that criteria unequivocally. Each of you are extraordinary members of our community. Today you will join a prestigious group of 135 individuals who have become members since the Order was established. Being invested in the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador today are Robert W. Cormier, Dr. Catherine Donovan, Alan Thomas Doyle, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, Carla Emerson Furlong, Joseph D Gowdy, Dr. Proton Rahman, and Maxwell Short. The citations will be read before the O&L presentation. However, I ask you to bear with me as I speak to each of the recipients who will receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador. Monsieur Cormier, je vous remercie pour votre dévouement en tant qu'ardente défenseur de la langue éducation en français, ainsi que de la langue à la culture française à Terre-Neuve et Labrador. Maintenant, Monsieur Cormier, as a principal and teacher of the French language and culture, an advocate for all of your life, I'm going to ask that you not grade me on my French pronunciation. Dr. Donovan, thank you for your steadfast dedication, helping to build the foundation of public health during your more than 30 years of working in our province, including as a former medical officer of health with Eastern Health. Your leadership navigating the HIV epidemic in the early 1990s, as well as the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, was instrumental and sincerely appreciated. Mr. Doyle, although not here today, I thank Alan for being an outstanding ambassador for Newfoundland and Labrador. A musician, composer, actor, writer, and humanitarian, he never misses an opportunity to promote our province. He is a proud Newfoundlander and Labradorian. His immense pride and passion for our province is obvious as he uses his platform to help those who need it most. He has already left his mark not only in Newfoundland and Labrador, but beyond. Dr. Fitzgerald, your public health guidance was and continues to be paramount in leading Newfoundland and Labrador's response to COVID-19. Throughout the pandemic, you have been an extraordinary leader, showing endless respect, empathy, and care for the people of our province. Thank you. Ms. Emerson Furlong, although not with us today, I thank Mrs. Emerson Furlong for her contributions to our province's arts and culture community, and indeed, Canada and beyond. Her time and talent have enriched the lives of many, and at 100 years old, she continues to do so. Mr. Gowdy, often referred to as Labrador's unofficial cultural ambassador, thank you for raising awareness of Labrador's unique cultures and your contributions, both provincially and nationally, which help people better understand Labrador's rich and diverse heritage. Dr. Rahman, thank you for your leadership, dedication, and commitment to genetic research, as well as for your efforts in the province-wide response to COVID-19. Your ability to identify new genetic markers for disease progression played a pivotal role in Newfoundland and Labrador's response during the pandemic. And Mr. Short, thank you for devoting 6 decades of your life advocating for the quality of life of fishing families throughout our province. Your dedication to those who work in the fishing industry has made a significant difference in their lives. Your leadership and influence were instrumental in securing federal government support for fish harvesters and plant workers during the dark days of the cod moratorium. Thank you. Clearly, the Advisory Council of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador faced a difficult task as they reviewed all of the nominations. So please join me as Chancellor of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador to thank the members of the Council for their commitment and diligence as they fulfilled a very difficult task. Congratulations again to the 8 extraordinary Newfoundlanders and Labradorians being invested into the Order. You make Newfoundlanders and Labradorians proud. You are leaders in our province. You're ambassadors, role models, change makers, and humanitarians. We'll now proceed with the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Robert W. Cormier. Robert W. Cormier lives in Cape St. George, where his extensive dedication to the French language has had a lasting impact on his community and the French education system in Newfoundland and Labrador. Monsieur Cormier is a graduate of Memorial University's Faculty of Education and worked for more than 30 years as a teacher, principal, and program coordinator. Monsieur Cormier is a founding member of the first French association in Newfoundland and Labrador, Les Terre-Neuviens Français, as well as a founding member of La Fédération des Francophones de Terre-Neuve et du Labrador, the provincial Francophone federation. He has served as president of both organizations. Monsieur Cormier has worked tirelessly to promote and preserve the French language and culture in this province. He quickly realized the importance of education as a means not only of preserving the language, but of also promoting and instilling pride in it. From personal experience, Monsieur Cormier knew that although the people of his community spoke the French language, they had never been given the opportunity to learn to read and write it. In his leadership role, Monsieur Cormier had helped obtain French first language education for students in the province. In 1988, the former French immersion program, which had begun in Cape St. George in 1975, was transformed into the French first language program, which is now offered in the Francophone schools across the province. These schools are managed by the Provincial Francophone School Board, an important tool in giving Francophones control over their education. Although Monsieur Cormier is retired, he continues to serve the community as a volunteer member of on the board of directors of Les Terre-Neuviens Français and the board of directors of the Long Range Community Business Development Corporation. Monsieur Cormier was awarded Queen Elizabeth II's Golden Jubilee Medal and invested into the Order of Canada in 2002. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Robert W. Cormier. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Catherine Donovan. For more than 30 years, Dr. Catherine Donovan helped build the foundation for public health in Newfoundland and Labrador. She is a retired professor of public health and former medical officer of health at Eastern Health, who worked tirelessly to promote and protect the health of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Dr. Donovan is a graduate of Memorial University and the University of British Columbia. Dr. Donovan exemplifies true resiliency. At the beginning of her career as medical officer of health in the early 1990s, she helped contain an HIV outbreak in Conception Bay North through her leadership and public health advice. By the end of her career, she helped navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Donovan dedicated much of her career to promoting health. She served as the principal investigator for the Newfoundland and Labrador Heart Health Program, and for more than 15 years, chaired the Provincial Wellness Advisory Council. Before her retirement in 2020, Dr. Donovan played an instrumental role in the development of the Masters of Public Health and the Indigenous Health Program at Memorial University's Faculty of Medicine, where she acted as program chair, associate dean, and associate professor before she retired. Dr. Donovan is the recipient of many awards, including the Queen Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee Medal for the contribution to the promotion of heart health, the Janssen Ortho Incorporated Award for advancing the state-of-the-art of public health in Canada, and the Nathan Goss Award for significant contribution to environmental public health in Newfoundland and Labrador. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Catherine Donovan. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald is the Chief Medical Officer of Health for Newfoundland and Labrador. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, Dr. Fitzgerald has led the public health response to the pandemic with grace, patience, and resilience. Her work has been instrumental in our province achieving the highest COVID-19 vaccination rates in the country. Dr. Fitzgerald was notably a leader that residents of the province could rely on through hundreds of live COVID-19 briefings, alert system implementations, and the navigation of public health measures. Her mantra of hold fast reassured countless seniors and those with chronic illnesses. Her friendly videos educated residents during a stressful period and also brought comfort to families, especially those with children whose lives have been drastically changed during the pandemic. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Carla Emerson Furlong. Ms. Furlong is represented today by her son, Mac Furlong, who will receive this honor on her behalf. Carla Emerson Furlong is a noted musician who has made outstanding contributions to the art and culture of Newfoundland and Labrador, and indeed Canada. In addition, she spent decades as an avid volunteer in the community. Ms. Furlong studied at the Royal Conservatory of Music and Juilliard. She studied under famous American harpist Marcel Granjaget. Despite her studies being interrupted during World War II, Ms. Furlong graduated from the Juilliard School in 1948. During the war, she served as a cipher technician in St. John's. In 1950, Ms. Furlong was appointed harpist with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra and performed with the Halle Orchestra and toured Great Britain with Vic Oliver's variety show. Ms. Furlong was instrumental in establishing the harp department at the Royal Conservatory in Toronto, performed with the Toronto Symphony and the Ottawa Philharmonic Orchestra, and recorded CBC television and radio shows. In 1962, she returned home to join the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra as principal harpist and helped establish the School of Music at Memorial University. For more than 40 years, Ms. Furlong guided locals and visitors to learn about the architectural significance of the Anglican Cathedral. She generously gave her time to the Avalon Battalion Band of the Church Lads Brigade, Kiwanis Music Festival, as well as mentored students for examinations for the Trinity College and the Royal Conservatory of Music. Ms. Furlong was a sought-after harp instructor. People traveled considerable distances to study with her until she stopped teaching 1 year ago at the age of 99. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Carla Emerson Furlong. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Joseph D. Gowdy. Joseph Gowdy is a proud Métis elder, widely recognized for his public service and outstanding heritage and cultural contributions to Labrador. His long and storied career began at CBC Radio in Happy Valley Goose Bay as a broadcaster. In 1975, Mr. Gowdy was the second Indigenous member elected to the House of Assembly and made history as the first Labradorian to serve in cabinet. He spent more than 30 years perfecting craftsmanship as a master traditional Labrador canoe builder. Throughout his life, Mr. Gowdy raised awareness of Labrador's unique cultures and tirelessly promoted its rich and diverse heritage to the world. Prior to entering politics, Mr. Gowdy founded the Labrador Heritage Society and became its president. In that capacity, he was instrumental in the start of Them Days magazine, which is still active today. His leadership and legacy continue in many cultural and heritage institutions, such as Parks Canada and the Mealy Mountains National Park Reserve, Labrador Heritage Society, Labrador Métis Association, Labrador Winter Games, the Trapline Marathon, and the Great Labrador Canoe Race. Mr. Gowdy was awarded the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers in 2017. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Joseph D. Gowdy. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Proton Rahman. Dr. Proton Rahman is internationally renowned in the field of healthcare. He was the Associate Dean of Clinical Research at the Faculty of Medicine, Memorial University. He is also a clinician scientist, professor of medicine, and staff rheumatologist at Eastern Health. Dr. Rahman is a graduate from Memorial University and the University of Toronto. His groundbreaking research and leadership has had a profound impact on patients around the world. He is well recognized for his translational genetics research and has identified several novel susceptibility genes in psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, as well as new genetic markers for disease progression and pharmacogenetics in other inflammatory rheumatic diseases. Dr. Rahman established a research program at Memorial University, pioneered the development of the Newfoundland and Labrador genealogical database, and led the Janssen and Newfoundland and Labrador Health Innovation Partnership. He obtained over $68 million in research grants and is published in top genetics and rheumatology scientific journals. Dr. Rahman is the recipient of many awards, including the University Research Professor, Distinguished Canadian Rheumatology Investigator Award, President's Award for Outstanding Research, Arthritis Society of Canada Scholar, Canadian Institutes of Health Research New Investigator Award, Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, and Fellow of the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences. His efforts in leading the COVID-19 predictive analysis team helped shape and guide the province's pandemic response. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Proton Rahman. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Maxwell Max Short. Maxwell Short has spent 6 decades advocating for the quality of life of fishing families across Newfoundland and Labrador. Mr. Short is familiar with the fisheries industry, having started at a young age after his family resettled from a northern community in the province. In the early 1950s, He fished with his father and grandfather in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where he developed his passion. He made the transition from fishing boat to the office in the 1970s, where he showed leadership and influence that fostered many connections with the federal government. Mr. Short's work was instrumental in securing the federal government's support for fish harvesters and plant workers during the cod moratorium of Newfoundland and Labrador. Mr. Short was a member of the Northern Cod Commission, the Canadian delegation to the North Atlantic Salmon Commission, the North Atlantic Fisheries Organization, and the Canada-France Advisory Commission. He was also a Canadian commissioner to the Canada-Norway Sealing Commission. From 1994 to 2003, Mr. Short was the special advisor to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans. To receive the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador, Maxwell Max Short. Alan Doyle was not able to join us today and will be invested into the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador on a future date. The ceremony will conclude with an address by the Honourable Premier. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dr. Andrew Fiore.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm left with the unenviable task of trying to sum this all up. Having heard all the bios, there's not much to say about the recipients other than we should all be very humbled to be in such prestigious company. I think when you are looking at how societies are judged, one of the elements that is to be considered historically is how we honor and respect our heroes. And we are amongst heroes in this audience today. They didn't do so because they didn't do so for fame or glory or for the receipt of this award today. They did so, I would argue, because they are a part of a bigger good, a greater good, a human good, and one that we should all be proud of. But I think of something that distinguishes them, even perhaps from their colleagues across the country, is that they did so with a unique sense of place. And that attachment to place is truly what it means to be a Newfoundlander and Labradorian. So despite their differences in background, and we're lucky to have the diversity that is on full display here today, despite their age differences, despite their background differences, we are all honored to be in such company that truly reflects the fabric of Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'm sure it's not lost on everybody that we're doing this in such a historic moment in a historic setting. And I said last night to all these distinguished people, I had the fortune to be in a similar setting recently and took an opportunity to reflect on, I'm sure, what is an emotional lyric for many of us in the Ode to Newfoundland and Labrador, where once they stood, we now stand. And the distinguishing element here is the service of each and every one of you will now lead to other footprints, so future generations can look back with pride and say, where once they stood, we now stand. You've lit a bright torch, and it's an honor to watch it glow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. Following this ceremony, their honors and the Premier invite recipients and guests to a reception at Government House. You may exit the Colonial building the way you entered, through the basement side door, and upon arrival at Government House, please enter through the main entrance. I would ask that guests remain in the ceremony room until you are directed to leave, to allow for official photographs to be taken in the lobby area, and for their honors and Premier to depart for the reception. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of the Ode to Newfoundland and Labrador, led by Krista Chaplin, and remain standing for the departure of their honors and the Premier and the newest members of the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador. Please be seated. I'll let you know as soon as they're done outside.